Does Jimmy Kimmel agree with President Trump? On Jimmy Kimmel Live this week, the host had this to say about Canada. Let's watch.
Let's just imagine for a second that somehow they do make this happen and Canada does become a state. Do they think it would be a red state? There are 41 million people living in Canada. They're about the same number we have in California. California has 54 electoral votes. If Canada also had 54 electoral votes, forget MAGA. Our next president will be a kind-hearted lesbian moose. Okay? I think I'm trying to say I'm for it. Save us, Canada. You're our only hope.
And this is what Kimmel had to say about Canada's concessions. Let's watch.
Under President Trump, our allies will be reiterating in their boots from now on. Next, his plan is he's going to force France to give us the Statue of Liberty. Won't that be nice? The art of the deal. Trump's calling this a major victory, and he's sending his minions out to claim it for him.
President Trump posted on Truth Social after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau agreed to beef up border security. Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country. I am very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not final economic deal with Canada can be structured. Fairness for all.
Always like to see you breaking out the Trump impersonation, Robby. Good times.
I'm just trying it 30%. 30%
well,
Trump.
That's
never go full Trump.
Never go full Trump. That's a good rule for us all. So for the second time during today's show, I assume you enjoyed what Jimmy Kimmel had to say.
I did. Kind-hearted lesbian moose is lovely imagery. I do take his point, and I have counseled conservatives on this. We can't add Canada as the 51st state because then we will add a bunch of electoral votes.
Be like giving electoral votes. Be like giving senators to the District of Columbia or something.
Yeah, we can't have that either. This is a delicate balance of power here. It can't happen unless you added unless it's true that everyone in Greenland is actually MAGA, and we can add Greenland too. Then we could add DC statehood or Puerto Rico or whatever.
If Canada was politically, Oklahoma, would you be all in favor of annexing Canada?
Then annex them, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Lord.
Manifest destiny. From sea to shining sea.
You just want those extra Republican electoral college votes, Robby.
So much.
Whatever about the freedom and autonomy of the proud nation of Canada.
No. We, in all seriousness, we don't want to conquer anybody. We don't want to deploy the military. I don't think Trump wants to do that either. He keeps talking about world peace. I think it is good to have better economic relationships with our neighbor to the north and our neighbor to the south, and even Greenland and Panama. Make sure we're not getting ripped off or anything like that. That's all fine. If people in other countries want to be part of the great American economic engine and trade with us and have good relations with us and treat us well, that's great. That's what we want to happen. It doesn't need to involve conquest or actually making them a state or anything of that nature, but that is good to counter the growing influence of China, which is a danger to global stability.
Yeah, I mean, in the abstract, I don't disagree with that. I do think that there's a propensity among the MAGA people in particular to overestimate the enthusiasm of non-US populations for joining up with the United States. There was a poll taken in
They'll greet us as liberators.
It was about they will not do anything of the kind. I think there was a poll taken in Greenland where, if I'm recalling correctly, it was 18% or something had some interest in becoming part of the United States. Look, obviously in the more serious or sober-minded elements of this, yes, I agree that it is better to have good relations than bad relations with neighbours to the north and south and elsewhere. Look, it is the Canadian Trump's supposed victory with Canada over the threat of tariffs was largely the Canadians reiterating what they had already agreed to do. So a lot of it was about optics rather than any substantive change.
As long as we don't actually implement the tariffs, I'm happy because I didn't want the tariffs to go into effect because they were going to raise prices. So, Trump using tariffs as a diplomatic tool You can argue that Canada didn't really, promise anything more than what it already said. Mexico did come more to the bargaining table. I think you have to concede that it was not unsuccessful in terms of how he has used tariffs to negotiate with our neighbors and also with Colombia. It's not been successful yet with China, unfortunately, but that's more of an enmity that we have going on there anyway.
It is more of an enmity. It is also, of course, a much bigger economic power, and so the risks, I think, are higher with China. China tariffs, if they really begin to bite, would have very dramatic effects because of the amount that the United States imports from China. There are obvious dangers in that, and there are dangers, I think, in this sense that is now building of, oh, well, Trump's just using it as a negotiating tactic. The more that becomes clear, the less effective it appears likely to be to me, because you're essentially saying, I'm trying to call your bluff. And once it becomes known that you're trying to call people's bluff, it becomes less effective. So I think that is the primary danger in all of this. Yes, I would agree with you that it has not been unsuccessful so far, although I think its successes have been exaggerated by the Trump side. But I do think there are really serious questions around it going forward.
We'll be back with more Rising right after this.